Shabbat Shalom. This is Shabbat Ekev. Ekev is Hebrew for because, a very important word in this case. Reading from chapter 7, verse 12 of Devarim, then it shall come about because you follow these mishpatim and keep and do them, that the Lord your God will keep with you this brit, this covenant, and his chesed, his loving kindness, which he swore to your forefathers. Moshe is continuing his closing address to our people, promising that if we will fulfill the mitzvot of the Torah, we will prosper in the land. This land, which we are about to conquer and settle, is part of God's covenant promise to our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and his descendants forever. Moshe rebukes the first liberated generation for our failings, recalling for us the worship of the golden calf, followed by the rebellion of Korach, the sin of the scouts, and our actions at Tevera, Massa, and Kivrot Hatava, the graves of lust. All of these brought down God's just anger upon us. Moshe declares, "You have been rebellious against God since the day I knew you." Quite an indictment. But he also speaks of God's forgiveness and of the second tablets which God gave to us, a sign of his forgiveness, a sign of his continued relationship with Israel, which did not end with our sin, with the golden calf. During our 40 years in the Midbar, God sustained us with daily man from heaven. But he also wanted to teach us that human beings do not live on bread alone, but by the utterance of God's mouth. Those are words that Rav Yeshua quoted to Hasatan in the wilderness when he was being tempted. Moshe describes for us the land that we are about to enter. He tells us that it is flowing with milk and honey. He's talking about date honey. It is blessed with the 7 species: wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives for oil, and date palms. Haaretz is the focus of God's providence in his world. He commands us to destroy the idols of the land's former residents and to beware lest we become arrogant and begin to believe my power and the might of my hand have given me this wealth. It's all too easy for human beings, having arrived in some way, to believe that everything they have, everything they've accomplished, is because of their own abilities, rather than giving thanks to God. A key passage repeats the fundamental mitzvot enumerated in the Shema and describes the rewards of fulfilling God's commandments. Also stated is the adverse result of neglecting God's commandments. And of course, these are first famine and then exile. This part of our parsha offers the precept regarding prayer, and it includes a reference to resurrection of the dead in the Olam Haba. But this morning, we're going to look more closely at the Haftorah reading, which comes to us through the prophetic vision of Yeshayahu. Following upon the chastening and exile described prophetically in our parsha, we read these words. But Zion said, "The Lord has forsaken me. The Lord has forgotten me." Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has borne? Though she may forget, I will never forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are ever before me. Your children hasten back, and those who laid you waste depart from you. Lift up your eyes, look around. All your children gather and come to you. As surely as I live, declares the Lord, you will wear them all as ornaments. You will put them on like a bride. Those are amazing words. And they are words that we carried with us into exile and with which we returned. Sadly, many of our people don't read them, and they don't realize that the present state of Israel is the beginning of that restoration that God promised. We talk about prophetic vision, but what is vision? It is insight, it is perception, but it is also inspiration. Vision is the actualizer that keeps momentum moving in a particular direction. Here are some interesting thoughts on that subject from a secular perspective. Jewish educator Kurt Hahn, who was the founder of Gordonstone, attended by our king and his father, and Outward Bound also, declared, "There is more to us than we know. If we can be made to see it, perhaps for the rest of our lives, we will be unwilling to settle for less." Artist Henri Matisse stated, "There is nothing more difficult for a truly creative painter than to paint a rose, because before he can do so, he has to forget all the roses that were ever painted." Philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson noted, "This time, like all times, is a very good one, if we know what to do with it." Writer Ayn Rand wrote, "Throughout the centuries, there were men who took first steps down new roads, armed with nothing but their own vision." Life coach Bob Proctor said, "To believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all, but to believe in the unseen is both a triumph and a blessing." Self-help author Robert Collier noted, "Vision gives you the impulse to make the picture your own." And finally, in the words of a Japanese proverb, "Vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. On this subject, God says to us, where there is no revelation, the people cast off restraint. But blessed is he who keeps the Torah. God has revealed himself to us through his creation, through the scriptures, and through the possibility of a covenant relationship with him. This revelation from God is not simply the grand program of God for the ages, but the specific details which define your personal day-to-day purpose and your progress. As recipients of God's revelation, we must firstly hear from him, as stated in the Shema. Hear, O Israel. This means listening and responding. And secondly, we must understand Hashem's message in the light of his revealed nature and plans given to us clearly in the scriptures. After listening and understanding, we must act upon what we know. Only then does God's vision become our vision. This is what is meant by having the mind of God. And it is our responsibility to keep his vision always before us. We must keep this vision refreshed through prayer and study of the scriptures, and by rekindling the flame if it has begun to fail through neglect. We must take all the actions that are necessary to pursue the vision and to refresh the vision, reminding ourselves and one another of why we are here and why we are doing what we are doing. If we do not live out the ramifications of what we believe, we will falter, we will lose momentum, and we will decline into retreat, as some of us have already done. Each one of us regularly requires a reality check. Each of us involved in the movement for covenant Judaism and in this synagogue, B'nai Maccabim, are here not as an avocational option, but because it is an imperative in our lives. We can't do anything else because we are constrained by God and by the vision he has given us to be what we are and to do what we do. Where would any of us be without Hashem, without his guidance and leadership in our lives? So, what is the vision without which we will throw off restraint and perish? Clearly, it is a matter of life and death. This vision and this revelation is God's plan for our people, who will look upon the pierced one and mourn, and with one voice proclaim, Baruch haba B'Shem Adonai. It is of Mashiach Yeshua returning with the armies of heaven to defend his covenant people Israel and to establish his kingdom. It is of King Mashiach ruling and reigning from a united, peaceful, righteous, and prosperous Israel over the whole earth. It is of Israel, composed of those who are Jews by birth, and those from all the nations who are Jews by choice, adopted, equally transformed by faith. This is the Jewish olive tree, the Jewish sheepfold, the one and only people of God, Israel. That is our vision. But we must constantly ask ourselves, am I serving God in his prophetic vision at this moment? If so, how am I serving it? Am I doing my part to be a light to our people and to anyone who is seeking the one true God? Am I serving God or myself? My ideas, my plans, my interests. Am I serving God or those around me? Their desires, their limited vision, their goals. Am I willing to put all that I am and all that I have on the line? Refresh, restore, and reignite your vision. Think about these questions and these exercises to rekindle your fire and reconnect with God's authentic vision for your life and for our community. Think about these things. Your face is on the cover of a magazine or a newspaper. The featured article is about you. If you could choose any magazine, what would it be? What is the cover headline? What are the supporting headlines? Why are you being featured? Who would contribute to the article? And what would they say? Number 2, imagine giving a speech at your own memorial service in a room full of all the people who have been meaningful in your life, living or not. Who is there? What do you want to say to them? Who is missing and why? You are being honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Who are you thanking for support, for love and mentorship? Who is there? Who introduces you and what do they say? Whose face do you want to see in the front row as you give your acceptance speech? Remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life? I'm sure you've seen it or certainly heard of it. It's an eternally favorite movie starring Jimmy Stewart. He is a frustrated businessman who's given the gift of an angel who shows him what life would be like if he had never been born. Envision yourself as the main character in It's a Wonderful Life. Whose life is better because you were born? Tell the story of how you have positively impacted the lives of 5 key people in your life and how you made it better. Number 5, what are the ingredients to a perfect day? Name at least 5 activities you would do every day without fail and be able to go to sleep contented. Is it prayer, exercise, music, dinner with someone special? Number 6, the bucket list. Here's another movie-inspired exercise for creating a vision. The gist of the movie is about 2 men with fatal illnesses trying to check off a list of all the things they want to do before they kick the bucket. You can place anything on the list. Items you want to purchase, places you want to travel, people you would want to meet, forgiveness you want to extend, love you want to express. It's your list. 7, imagine your last days. Sitting in a rocking chair, reminiscing beside your best friend. What will you talk about? What are the stories you tell over and over again? Who are the people you love? What are the experiences you shared which cause you to smile or laugh? And finally, if you've ever checked someone's bio on Wikipedia, where do you look first? Are you looking for professional accomplishments? Checking on how many marriages and children they have? Assume someone starts a Wikipedia entry about you. Who would contribute, and what would they say? Is there anyone you wouldn't want to contribute to the entry? If you are like most people, your spiritual, emotional, and relational lives are very much intertwined. What do you do with your time? Do you invest it, spend it, or lose it? How well does your life fit the vision God has laid before us? Consider whether the plans you make fit His vision for your life. If you are unsure of your vision, give yourself the gift of a retreat. You don't actually have to go anywhere, but just take some time, a block of time, and spend it alone with God and refresh your vision. One of the big questions that people ask is, why am I here? So, why are you here? What is your reason for being part of B'nai Maccabim, for listening to this, for visiting with us in a sense today, whether you're visiting online or visiting in person? Is it to make you feel good, surrounded by friends? Are you here to strengthen your sense of Jewish and spiritual identity as part of a community? And perhaps if you are watching this, you'd like to come along and actually join our service at some point. Because we cherish those things that are unique to us. Although I can say yes to all of these ideas, we are not a cozy club. Our premise, our raison d'etre, is restoration, renewal, and revival. Restoration, or tikkun olam, is God's purpose from the beginning. God has restored our people to our land as He promised. He has begun to restore us to Himself as He also promised, returning many of us to our heritage as Jews, as with some in our congregation, and perhaps this is true of you. But He is also drawing those who truly seek Him from among the Goyim to join with the natural descendants of Abraham, to be one people. This too is restoration, and we have an active part to play in His work. Who is a Jew? We follow the God of the Scriptures, according to His commandments, His statutes, His promises, as children of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, inheritors of the covenants, both by natural descent and by adoption. This synagogue and the movement for covenant Judaism are Jewish organizations made up of redeemed and restored people from different backgrounds and nations and cultures who are brought together as one in Mashiach. Children of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, by faith, calling, and choice. As we encourage converts to covenant Judaism, we are pursuing the process created by God for drawing those from among the nations to himself, which began with people like Caleb and continued with those like Cornelius, who followed Mashiach Yeshua. With these things in mind, we must be challenged to walk the walk, to live out what we believe, and to be unafraid of the consequences, to be who we are. We don't apologize for being Jewish, and there's no need to constantly explain what kind of Jew you are. However you got that way, that's what you are. Emulate Rav Yeshua, his Talmudim, Rav Shaul. Follow faithfully the pattern that has been sent before us. God desires that we, his Talmudim, should be a testimony to his work, just as a painting is a testimonial to the ability of the artist. Jews who follow the Jewish Mashiach Yeshua live and worship as Jews, and they raise their children as Jews. It is purposeless to call yourself a Jew if you do not live and act like a Jew in accordance with the scriptures. Those born of non-Jewish parents are joined with us as part of the Jewish olive tree of faith when they become part of Israel. Converts are adopted and have equal rights and responsibilities with natural children. They are Jews. Citizens of Israel, as Caleb became, are not only part of the people of Israel, they are Israelites. We are called to provoke our people to jealousy through a lifestyle and practices that reflect our calling as Jews. We are called to clear the way, to open the doors wide for anyone who is seeking God, to put out the welcome mat, the shalom mat, we should say, to be clear about who we are, Jews, and what we have to offer, reconciliation with the one true God, the God of Israel. We are here to remove the stones, to take away barriers that keep people outside our synagogue. Anything man-made that can stop Jewish people or others from coming to know the God of Israel through his Mashiach Yeshua. We are to raise the banner, to do everything that we can to draw people to the God of Israel. We are told to proclaim, our God reigns, the one and only true God, the Holy One of Israel. Don't be afraid to deny all the claims of other gods and their worshipers, including those who are Jewish or Christian, and promote a God who is not the true God of the scriptures. We read, you have enlarged the nation of Israel and increased their joy. They rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest, as men rejoice when dividing the plunder. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, El Shaddai, Everlasting Father, Sar Shalom. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. We are part of God's plan, established from before the foundation of the world, to bring glory and honor to the God of the universe. We must keep our eyes focused always on Him, on the vision, and go forward into whatever He has for us and our synagogue. God bless you with a good Shabbat and Shavua Tov.